Hello, good morning everyone, and good afternoon for the folks in the East Coast, and good evening for the folks in Europe. Happy to have you join the webinar of introducing the new Folloze experience. And just looking at the guest list for today, we have a good number of people from multiple different of our companies, both existing customers as well as probably customers that are new to Folloze. My name is David Brutman, and I'm going to present the webinar today. Just a few announcements before we start. One is this session is being recorded and will be made available to you later on. And then the second announcement is if you are looking to ask questions, you do have in your panel the ability to post questions, and we have a team that will be able to answer the questions as we get them. So again, welcome. My name is David Brutman. I'm the Chief Product Officer and the co-founder of Folloze. And here with me also to take any questions is Henny Mevorach, Director of Product Management. If you're looking to also get in touch with me, one of the ways is to use my Twitter tag, which is David Brut. David Brut. All right, so the agenda for today will be the why. Why are we introducing a new experience? An overview of what is the new experience, some best practices on how to use the new platform or capabilities, and also at the end some Q&A. And we'll also run office hours later on next week. So you're also welcome to get more high-touch help with the existing boards that you have in how to actually gear them. So really the genesis of the new experience was probably about 6 months ago when we came together and really asked ourselves what is the future of how B2B engagement is going to happen. And when I mean B2B engagement, I typically, what I mean by that is engagement of businesses and vendors, the engagement typically in a commercial setup, in a sales process or a marketing motion, and really kind of looking at a lot of what we've seen also in the consumer industry. So this is just a quick view of kind of the analysis that we've done. We've interviewed a pretty significant number of companies. Probably some of you have been also interviewed for the study. We've analyzed tens of use cases. We also looked into the data that we have in our platform in terms of the engagement. How did people engage? How do people consume content? What roles do consume content, really kind of getting into the data and understanding better how people are using content and interacting, and also looked closely into design patterns in the consumer world. And essentially, our goals were to deliver, we called it Project Unicorn, really a modern and interactive customer experience. Do build it as a way that will be highly responsive design that could run clearly on all form factors, whether it's desktop or mobile or tablet, and build it as a Lego blocks. So our customers are able to configure the board in multiple different ways. We took into account a lot of the customer feedback, and we really build it as a foundation for some of our future strategy, which is also enable our platform as an API. So what you'll see is really the impact would be beautiful boards for your customers with top-of-the-line performance, ability to kind of have multiple different layouts and use cases, new ways to engage, and so on and so forth. So essentially, the key capabilities that we've enabled with the Folloze new experiences is the new design of the content board, which is essentially a microsite that is part of our platform that is content-centric. I'm going to show some demos a little bit later. A new layout that is more flexible and provides more capabilities. We did have a few new elements. We redesigned the seller card, which is how the seller is being presented on the board itself. We added positioning area, and we also are using a new technology, which is providing a lightning speed performance in terms of load time of the board and the responsiveness. So this is how it looks like. These are examples of boards, content boards. Some of them are they're a little bit different from a structure point of view. So you can see kind of the one on the left, which is more the blue branded board. This is a typical kind of company introduction to a certain industry. You can see the second on the left, which is more, it's a thought leadership board, and the one on the right is more focused on an event that we're promoting. I'm just going to show you this live in a moment. So just kind of looking at the structure, it has the banner on the top. It has a positioning area, which is I'm going to talk about a little bit later. Has content assets, which are really the heart of the board, and then there's some additional information, typically on the bottom, something we call the promo area. So you can see the design itself is pretty slick. It's flat design, pretty much following the newest, latest and greatest designs in the consumer market. And again, it's very responsive, so it could run on all form factors and kind of be manifested in that very professional way. We also, whenever you drill down into the content itself, you'll see that we have introduced a new item viewer that is makes more focus on the journey itself, and it creates strong orientation between the board itself and the item, which is a specific content asset. We also are enabling some global actions in the header, which could be CTAs or the seller card, and so on and so forth. And we do support now a better way to land on the content asset itself or on the board. Both ways are fully supported. So what I'll do now is I'm going to go through different parts of the board and just kind of emphasize a few points that are worthwhile mentioning. And then a little bit later, we're going to go on and look at some best practices on how boards are designed. And again, I want to remind you, if you have any questions, anything that comes up, feel free to post it on the Q&A chat in your portal. So we'll start first with the banner. The banner typically is the top area below the header. And what you'll see here is that we added more flexibility to be able to design the banner with either images that their focus is on the right side, like the one that you see on the top. So you're able to then align the text to the left. If the image has the focus area on the left, then you can align the text to the right, and then you can align it to the center. It gives a lot of flexibility on really kind of on the creative side to be able to kind of find the image that has the right impact and then be able to design the text or to align the text accordingly. We also added a few different excuse me, types of banners. We have a tall banner that is typically can contain more elements and text, and then all the way to medium, short, and very basic if you're trying to really create a board that is very focused on the content and less on the messaging. So a lot of flexibility on how the banner would look like. The second area is the positioning area right below the banner. This is actually, we tested it with users and got really strong feedback, very positive feedback. So below the banner, this is in the area where you could essentially make sure that that you can deliver a secondary message, a message that could relate to the content specifically. So it's a way to kind of provide a second level of messaging that comes below the banner, and also promote one of the content assets, whether it's explicitly to be on the top. So it's almost like a content CTA in addition to the CTA in the banner. Very powerful way to kind of pick one of your best assets. You can also pick them dynamically and assign them to be on the top. So this is the positioning area, and we've seen a very good response in terms of engagement with this area, as well as the content in this area. Moving on to the next, the seller card is a very prominent part of the board. One of the kind of key value propositions of our platform is to make sure that the seller is always present in the board. That has two main results. One is it's being positioned really as the seller curating content and delivering it in the board, and also you're able to interact with the seller. So what you see on the top is a greeting, and then you can really get, either message the seller, or even chat with the seller, or check out their LinkedIn. So that makes it much more personable. So this is a digital asset that is very personable. So what we've done is we've changed a little bit of design so that the seller card is on the top of the board, and all the messages come from there. So it's kind of the place where you can go back, and if you want to connect with the seller, that's where you'll find it's always present. It has some logic into how it would animate in terms of opening and closing. In terms of the actual item tiles, this is an example of the item tile. We transition it now to two modes. Whenever you hover on top of an item, you'll see the description. One more element is search. So you can, if this is a content-heavy board with tens or even hundreds of assets, what you can do now is you can search, and the search is based on tagging and indexing of the content itself. It makes it easy for people to find the content they're looking for. One more thing to mention is the footer. The footer has been also been redesigned and provides the flexibility for each company to provide a footer or a set of footers that could be localized and customized with linking to the key elements of that specific company. I'd like to maybe kind of share. I want to share the board in a live demo. So let me just kind of set it up. This is the live board, and this is how it looks like. And essentially, what you can, for those of you who are not familiar, this can be built very quickly, and you could aggregate content from multiple different sources. It could be web links or documents, or you can even connect to your CMS system and pull content in. So it's really kind of an experience around the content that you've collected. Whenever you want to open an asset like this video, it would open in line within our platform, and you'll be able to consume. This is the example of the seller card that is always existing here, and you essentially would go and flip through the content. This is truly a journey that guides you through the key assets that are related to this specific topic. The videos and the documents would play in line. So this is an example of a video that plays in line. And behind the hood, we would measure each and every interaction, anything from the actions that were performed and the time that the prospects have spent on the board. So just going back to the board level, this is kind of the way to structure it into categories. And really the goal is to build boards that are, this is an example of a company called Equitier, which is a big data company and this is kind of the board that positions the company for the healthcare industry. So the goal is really to build those boards with focus on curating the best content and really delivering the best journey. We do have some dynamic content capabilities that I'm not going to mention right now, but not everything needs to be predefined. There are actually some rules that you can define to build the content. So this is kind of one example. This is another example of a board that we've built to position our platform for field marketeers. And again, you can see kind of this is more of a short banner playing the role of the salesperson here. You can ask a question if you have, and I'll essentially get the notification via an email or a chat. So this creates that personable connection. And this is also an area that we typically promote some additional messaging, or we could link to a different other assets. This is the call to action, which in our case actually takes you to a calendar where you can set up some meeting with us to talk about your ABM program and how ABM and how we can help with that. Another example is this is an event board. This is also an example of the greeting that you would get whenever you land on the board. So you can see here kind of the name of the company and the person. In this case, Rob, who's one of our directors of sales, is actually has invited me to the board. And then you can start and kind of navigate within the board itself. In this case, the link to the conference itself is kind of the leading item, and there's some additional messaging here. So that's another way to use the boards. And one more example would be another board that we're using to promote the idea of the bow tie. Bow tie is kind of the way to look at the modern funnel and how kind of deals, there's an initial deal, but there's kind of a cyclic process of renewing and upselling and cross-selling. So this is a board that promotes this idea, and there's a lot of content that promotes that is promoted as part of the board. So again, these are examples of boards that essentially just show kind of how flexible you can be with the boards. This case, by the way, we don't have the messaging area. This is just the text and then the messaging here, and you can see the search here as well. So just a few examples, and then let's see if I open one of the assets, I'll be able to kind of drill down and again consume the content in line within our platform. So going back to the presentation, kind of while going through the different elements of the board, what I like to do now is to talk about one area that we typically discuss with our customers very heavily, and this is kind of how do you design a board. And clearly there are different types of boards, so not necessarily do you design each board the same, but there are a few best practices that we'd like to share that really can make a board look great. And you don't necessarily have to be like a designer to do that. These are relatively simple guidelines to follow that will make the board look great. So the first one is really, and this is just an example here that you're seeing on the screen, it's consistency in item images. So you want to make sure that the images that you're choosing, whether it's coming from your brand library within your company, typically that's a good source to use because then there's consistency in styles just by the fact that they have been curated by your global marketing team. That's kind of a great starting point to make sure they're consistent. The second one is we tend to see content images that are they're kind of zoomed out. One of the foundational rules that we've seen work really well is really close-up of elements and typically they have stronger impact. So really kind of zooming into an element, as you see here, there are kind of a few examples of how you zoom in. Another option would be just brand colors, touches in the images. So if your brand is blue, some of the things you may want to do is essentially touch a little bit on the in the images, have some blue colors. I think it creates a really kind of nice nice blend with the brand color. And then last but not least, I think that's always a good recommendation, but it becomes even more important, I think, in such a setup. Short and sweet titles, short and sweet group titles, so tabs. There's I think playing around with short titles and image that describes what the item is about, I think has a pretty strong impact. So I think the more text, the least effective it is. So try to kind of find a way to find this short and sweet titles that would really kind of hone down on what it is without making it, really exhaustive effort to read it. For those of you who have experience building boards, this is another area that we've extended. I'm not going to go into lots of details, but there are extensions to our designer. The designer is actually the component in our platform that allows you to build those boards and design their look and feel. It's a very simple, no HTML coding type of tool that you can use in order to build the boards. And we've done some extensions and enhancements there around the things that I mentioned earlier, which is the messaging area, the banner area, general area, in other areas. So happy to run you through the specifics in our office hours. So just before kind of wrapping up, just want to go back to kind of what a little bit of a summary. So the Folloze new experience is essentially our strategy to deliver very engaging experiences that you can share with your prospects and customers as part of either a sales process or a marketing motion, as well as part of your relationship building with the customers itself. And we're introducing kind of this new design, new layout, new elements, positioning area, and then really a kind of a new technology that drives all of this. With the I think the big idea is to very much keep it compelling and slick, but also very simple to build. And that's something that is highly, very important for us, as we know it's important for customers to be able to spin up those boards very quickly, but get to a very impressive result. With that, I'd like to wrap up and say that this is just kind of the first, I would say, release of the new experience. We have a lot of more coming in the next few quarters. We'll see some really exciting things I cannot talk about at this point, but we are continuing to innovate a lot around that. So stay tuned for that. And also, I'd like to suggest that you join the office hours, which are taking place next week, September 5th, 11 a.m. PST. If you want to sign up, it's very easy. It's bit.ly/FollowzeNX, and you'll be able to get access to that. Now, having said that, very true to our strategy, we will also share the content of this of this webinar, the deck, as well as the all the related materials, and link to this session of office hours in a board that we'll send to you as a follow-up to this webinar. And with that, I'm happy to take questions. We have about 2 minutes, so I'll see think we have a question on timing of this release, and when is this being released, and what do I need to do to take advantage of the new UI? All right. Thanks for the question. Essentially, this is already out. So this has been already released actually last week. And there's nothing that customers need to do in order to take advantage of it. It's already available to all our customers. So this has been activated to all the customers. So really, I think you can essentially feel free to work with the system and get to know the new functionalities. If you do need some advice on kind of how to improve the designs of the boards or take advantage of the new capabilities, we're happy to help you. Our customer success team and customer operations team is happy to help in order to achieve that. If you need just one email address, you can just reach out to support@folloze.com, and we'll be happy to help you with that. I think we're at time. Do we have time for more questions? Yeah, there is a question on can we some of the examples that were shown were very are good examples. Can you share those examples with us so we can follow them or learn from them? Yes, absolutely. We'll make the boards that I've shown here in the session. We'll make them available as a follow-up as well on the board. So you can just look at the board and take some ideas from that. That's definitely something we're happy to do. I think we're at the top of the hour, so with that, I am going to thank you for your participation. Wish you a wonderful rest of the day or rest of the evening. And as always, we're happy to answer any questions. And with that, I'll close the webinar. Have a great, wonderful day.